All right. Yeah, I've kind of looked at the RESTful and SOAP in the last video. Just trying to define what the hell it really is. Um, but I thought I would basically talk quickly about some of the stacks that are out there, because that kind of encompasses a lot. I mean, again, you got the front end, with HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Okay, and that's pretty universal because it's installed on everybody's browser by default. I mean, because there's an engine in Google Chrome and Firefox, etc., that actually interprets, um, you know, that kind of code. Again, it's an interpreted code. Basically interprets it and displays your web pages and so forth. So basically, everybody has the power of HTML, which actually is again. I mean, it's actually pretty sophisticated. You can actually, especially with JavaScript being introduced, I mean, you can draw, you know, it's got a lot of good drawing functions and stuff like that. So if you like graphics, it's not just all pictures and text. You can literally draw things on it. I don't know. I wish I could show you some examples. Yeah, I don't know where my website is. I think it's here. Nope, that's isn't it. Um, I have no idea. Anyway, yeah, I got my website here somewhere, but I'd have to go hunt for it. I got so many damn bookmarks. It's just unbelievable. Um, but anyway, yeah, you can actually draw things with it and everything else. So it's a lot more than just pictures and videos. But the point is that's a front end. Okay, basically HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the front end of any website, um, and it's actually it looks kind of like gibberish at first, but once you get the hang of it, you can you know interpret it just fine. This is a actual demo of the PHP HTML program. I think it is. You're not going to see the PHP part here. That's on the server side. Well, actually, this was jQuery UI. Is what it is. So, so jQuery has these interesting controls in there. Their UI version. So, and this stuff's all free, and it's all really available on the internet. I didn't actually install anything. It's actually doing what they call a CDN. So, the content network sharing or something like that. But that way, there's a lot of stuff you don't actually have to install, like in HTML and so forth. This being an example, for like controls and all that, and jQuery itself is a great example. Even Bootstrap, you don't really actually have to install Bootstrap if you don't want to on your computer or on your server. You can just access it over CDN, which is actually, they say, a little faster a lot of times, because there's a good chance that your browser might already have some of that cached. Whereas if you put it on your own server, well, that will increase the amount of data that's got to be uploaded to the website you're requesting web page. But it's you can actually install these things on your computer. But I'm saying a lot of these things, it's remarkable as it turns out, are actually available without having to do that. So even a lot of JavaScript, sometimes you can actually see, it going and getting files and so forth for JavaScript, from some internet location. So, but anyway, yeah, there's a lot of stuff available from, main CDN websites. So, which is what we got here. But yeah, you see a mixture of HTML, and all HTML documents, have a head section. Not all, it's not necessary, but I mean, but usually this is the typical form. It usually starts with, this little thing here, and then you go to HTML tag, and then you have a body tag here, which is where all your display HTML usually goes, and then your head tag is, a lot of times you'll put scripts and so forth, although you can put scripts anywhere. You can put them in the, you got this 2 script tags, and you can even have single line scripts like this, that really just reference You know, it's what they call an empty. Well, this isn't really an empty script, but it kind of is. I mean, it's not really an empty tag, but it kind of is, in how it's used. An empty tag is one that doesn't have a closing deal. It's kind of a, like BR, for example, is an empty tag. And HR is an empty tag. Get used to those. BR is a break. Okay, so it adds a new line to it, and HR is horizontal roll. But yeah, but basically you have the head, and this stuff won't be displayed, and stuff like the title. This title, it's actually what shows up in your title bar. So, I know there's some way of putting an icon in here somewhere, and stuff like that. Let's see, these are links. They're defining some of their links and libraries. But again, a lot of this stuff can put anywhere. Even CSS, you can put. A lot of times they'll put the CSS definitions. If they're not in a separate file, they'll put them up here in the head, but you can put them anywhere. So, and again, you don't even have to have a head technically. It's not quote-unquote proper, and maybe some websites will freak out if browsers will freak out if you don't have it done right. But the point is you don't really need any of this. I mean, you can just put HTML out here. Without it actually doing anything, or having any of this, peripheral stuff. But anyway, that's still HTML. Just briefly covering the concept. But HTML is pretty easy to learn, and you can go to, for example, Java T Point and kind of look at their HTML tutors. These guys, are a little bit in the way of broken English, but still you can learn a lot because they do cover a lot of ground. Especially if you just want to see examples of things. That's one of the places I learned. And Mozilla here, is really good to learn not just the simple stuff, but sophisticated stuff like graphics here in games, and because they covered like everything. It's like amazing, all the stuff they covered. It's not. I don't want to say it's not too terribly well organized though, because I just find new stuff all the time, but. Again, they got tutors on just everything here. It's, Mozilla Development Network. So, same guys that brought you the, browser over here. Firefox. But, anyway, this is a really good resource, and it's well written, though. It's really detailed, and it's written by people that really have a coherent idea of what they're doing, where some of these sites I kind of get the feeling they're just putting information out there to get web traffic, because this site in particular is real obnoxious when it comes to ads. I mean, it just drives me crazy. There's so many fucking ads on it. W3 Schools was another one, which isn't as bad when it comes to ads, at least. And they have a lot of good stuff. If I recall correctly, this was the one that, let me see if I can find it. They actually had a how-to section. So I know one of these guys did, and it was pretty cool because you could actually go and look for like elements like a smorgasbord and just select the ones you wanted, and it would tell you kind of how it's coded a little bit. I don't remember exactly where it is. I probably got it. Here, let me try to find it. Yeah, this is it. It's at W3 Schools. I don't know where exactly I found it, but anyway, it's it's at W3 Schools how to. So it's like I said, it's kind of cool because you go through here and it just shows you all this. It's like a smorgasbord. It shows these little things like a login form or accordion. So here you got accordions and so forth, and but yeah, there's just all these different little methods that are all pretty much HTML, and but you can click on one of them, and and basically it goes in here, so you can go to the try it to yourself or try it for yourself section, and you got your code right here which you can copy and paste, which is complete code, so you can actually just copy and paste it in your website, and it shows you what the result is here. But you can copy and paste this into a text document and run it in your own browser and tinker with it if you wanted to. Or you can mess with it, live online like you saw there. You know, they don't explain it very much here, but they still show you how it's done, and they got some comments in it. But it's just kind of cool because you can actually go grab it and really incorporate it right into your website if that's what you're building, or toy with it. So, but yeah, I mean, you got all kinds of different little effects here, you know, that cover different things, like, you know, different button types, and you know, drop down menus, and you know, things like that. So, you know, navigation buttons, that sort of thing, you know, and doing, you know, like this sort of, you know, parallaxing. And like I said, they got like, you know, a dozen, you know, 8 or 10 pages worth of this stuff. So, you know, it's pretty good little resource. But in any event, yeah, this isn't as bad when it comes to ads. There are definitely ads on it, but it's not as obnoxious as these Java T-Point guys. You know, another place I was looking at is Tutorial Republic. So, and again, I think this one, well, at W3 Schools, I learned a lot of my HTML through them, because, you know, they do have a lot of tutors on it. And they got, but yeah, again, their tutors are a little underwhelming, though. Not very well explained. Again, if you want good explanation for things, go to Mozilla. But if you just like to see an overview, and you know, either this or Java T-Point. Java T-Point's actually a little better, you know, because they actually try to explain it a little more. These guys, there's often scant explanation for almost anything. It's just, you know, there's really not a whole hell of a lot. But, you know, again, you know, you can go through JavaScript and I guess React and Angular and stuff, but, you know, a lot of these aren't very detailed. Let me see if I can, damn it, fucker. Yeah, but a lot of these aren't very detailed. You can see that, you know, there's not really a lot of tutor here, you know, and, you know, like modules, you know, this is typical. You know, you see a lot of code snippets that are really usually very well explained. But again, you know, it's still a good exposure to it, and that's what you got to look at. You know, that these sites can provide you some good exposure, but you'll probably want to dive into it elsewhere, like Mozilla, if you want to get a really good, if you need a good in-depth explanation anyway. Let me rephrase that. So, but, you know, Tutorial Republic, it seems like that was actually good. And what I liked about them is they don't actually have a lot they teach you here, so they're a little more focused. So, I mean, you know, you got basically, this is all they teach you, you know, so they got HTML tutors, and I did go through, I think, most of, if not all their tutors, and they got CSS tutors, and JavaScript tutors, jQuery, I believe this is where I studied JavaScript too, but, you know, jQuery, Bootstrap, you know, Bootstrap is something that's interesting. You know, you can actually use that to, I mean, it's basically, you know, like I showed you on this W3 Schools, that how-to section, how they had all those controls. Bootstrap's kind of like that. I mean, it's really a big, more or less, user interface collection, and there may be a little more to it than that, but basically that's what it kind of all is. You know, Bootstrap is a good way of building a website. This is all HTML pretty much. It doesn't really deal with the rear end, which we'll talk about that in another video, I presume, since this is obviously becoming an HTML front-end video. But yeah, you can see, you know, breadcrumbs, nav bars, things like that, you know, and like I said, this is a good site. They actually do a halfway decent job explaining, and again, their ads aren't obnoxious at all, this Tutorial Republic. So, you know, I would recommend, you know, if you're wanting to really learn more in depth, you know, again, these are kind of the resources I use to learn. You know, it didn't take too long, you know, to kind of get the feel for it. You know, because believe it or not, this stuff doesn't look like gibberish to me anymore. It always did. Always thought to myself, man, people be nuts to actually program in this, you know, and, you know, when you can just draw it. Why can't you just draw it? You know, and in fact, you can. I mean, there are lots of good programs that you can use, you know, to just draw it. I know I talked about this a little bit in some other videos, but you got this, like, Open Element. This is a newer one, you know, which basically, yeah, you can, you know, draw out a whole website with templates and everything. Wordpress is kind of like that too. except that it's a little more involved. It's like what they call a content management system. So, which I'm still not sure exactly what that means, except that I know it provides you access, for like the admin of the site and everything. So it's a little more than just an HTML template, but I don't think it's really got much of a rear end to it. But it is good for like blogs and things like that. That's what WordPress is known for. But there's actually a lot more to it. They actually have a lot more, static type sites on it, but it's not really dynamic, so you're not going to really see it work with a rear end like PHP or Node.js or what have you. But, still it's good if you want a simple, website. It's and or to see just how one works. But again, it's a little weird, but but it's more of a template, so you select what templates you want, and basically you just fill in your own, put in your own pictures and your own text, and it's a lot more like a program like this is, or like that Serif is, which is supposed to friggin' be down here. I don't know why it's not here. Now here it is. The Serif is an old program. They don't make it anymore, but it's actually just like CorelDRAW. So you actually draw a site much the same way you would in CorelDRAw, but because you can actually, again, if you have CorelDRAW or something like that, you can actually draw stuff in there and actually convert it to HTML. That's one way to get started. On most programs will actually convert, text, text editors or whatever, will convert, like Microsoft Word, your stuff into HTML. But the fact of the matter is that some of these programs are interesting, and again, this is actually a new one, and but there are the alternatives. You don't have to go with Adobe's rentware, and and if you want that kind of ability, there are quite a few of these out there. But this is a few that I found that looked interesting. They were free. Well, this wasn't, but again, they don't make this anymore. But it was handy. But in any event, yeah, that's that's kind of the front end, and that's the kind of resources you have available here, and they do have some tutors on. Oh, this is the other guys, on Angular and stuff like that. Which Angular, I still have not really gone through, and I really had to kind of cut it short on the rear end for now. I got to get back to Java and some things like that, and try to figure out smartphones, Android. So that's why I'm cutting off my web training for right now, because I got to get on smartphones. But I'm trying to figure all that crap out. But again, I'm trying to recite what I learned as much as I can, so that I come back to it later. But yeah, that's so like I said, some of these sites were pretty good, and but as I said, Bootstrap and so forth really is just a bunch of controls and things like that, tooltips, popovers, and it does a pretty good job. I mean, these guys are actually not bad, when it comes to how they do things, and you got, of course, your live code here, so you can come here and see it in operation and tinker with it, and it's pretty good. And again, it's not too obnoxious ad-wise, so it wasn't bad, but they don't have a whole lot of different subjects they teach you. But again, I think I learned PHP here too. In SQL, I don't think I learned here. I think I learned SQL over at these guys, but I already had a lot of SQL experience, so it actually wasn't that big of a deal. But PHP, Bootstrap, jQuery. jQuery too is really just kind of a set of libraries like Bootstrap is. So, and it's again, this is another CDN thing, and Bootstrap is too. And now PHP is something you got to have installed, because that's like part of it's part of Apache server. So on the LAMP stack. So let's see, the CSS, that's still pretty impressive, some of the stuff you can do, and there's a lot of animation that you can do, again, between HTML and CSS. I mean, it's surprising what it can do. And then, like I said, you get into that graphing technology, which they don't really talk about that here, but the HTML's graphing functions, where you can actually draw like Pac-Man or something like that on here, yeah, but anyway, you can do things like, like this. I'm still trying to, figure out the, these are basically just CSS animations and things you can do with CSS, in Java or in HTML. So this didn't work, but I made this website that's kind of got some bugs in it. I still haven't figured out why this doesn't work properly. Like I said, you can do things like make pictures, rumble, and stuff. And I got that off that W3 Schools site. So use a magnifier glass, and because like I said, this is some of the stuff I show you how to do it. And I actually combined all these in one deal. That's why all the pictures on here rumble, because you can't on HTML you can't separate out the page. So I mean, I can't like have an effect, without a lot of preparation. I can't have an effect and like divide what it does up. So not without putting everything into a different class and stuff. But since these are all just demos I kind of downloaded, it's just kind of a pain in the ass to do that. So some of these kind of overlap in their functionality. So it's it's interesting. But hold on. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I got off at that W3 Schools how-to thing. So like I said, I wanted to tinker with a bunch of these things, and see just the different effects. So the different ways of doing things, so I can have a smorgasbord. So I can come back to it later and look at the HTML and JavaScript and all that. I'll show you how to do clocks and a bunch of different types of things, but this is all still strictly HTML. It's not you're not talking about well, actually here we might be getting into that sort of thing. Yeah, this thing didn't quite work right. I don't know why, but yeah, you can do things like this with these graphics methods. Like I said, I was trying to find that particular one. Anyway, like I said, I got lots of different types of, things on here, which is pretty cool stuff. I mean, I'm probably going to put all this out on GitHub before too long. When I get around to it. There's some animations and so forth that this does. I wish this damn thing didn't misbehave like that, because I can't read anything. Everything gets stuck behind this, and it's not supposed to. I mean, it's probably I hadn't rebooted my computer in a long time. That might have something to do with it, but yeah, I can't. I wanted to find a thing where I was doing some drawings, but here it is. Yeah, but this is the kind of stuff. This is actually drawn with actual just graphics methods. So, which is a little weird because this kind of works like turtle graphics, so as opposed to like graphics. So everything's kind of relative, and I don't know if there's an absolute way of doing things, but anyway, that kind of sucked. But yeah, you can do these little animations and stuff with it. And again, this is completely just, just I guess a little bit of JavaScript and CSS and HTML. That's all it is. So the smiley face was drawn, and again, you can do actually a lot of basic drawing with it. So it's more than just putting like photographs up here and and stuff like that. So we've already seen that. And that. So yeah, anyway, so but like I said, there's a lot you can do with just HTML and static web pages. So that's what they call a static web page, is when it's not linked to a back end dynamically, so you don't have like a database connected, or anything like that. I mean, even this is a static web page, even though, hey, it's dynamic, right? It does something. Well, it doesn't do something, in terms of cooperating with a rear end. I mean, these are just web pages. That's it. So, oops. But this is off that same W3 Schools how-to thing. So, it shows you, sticky menus and things like that. So, at any rate, so that's pretty cool. Now, I mean, as to contrast that, let's see. Well, like I said, this was a jQuery thing right here. So this is still basically a front-end deal as well. So, it's jQuery. They actually make a smartphone library too. So, which I can't remember. This might be part of that. But now this is a good example of an actual rear-end application. This actually is a PHP generated document on one of my servers. So, this is the HTML part of it, but it is a PHP product that's connecting it to something. I don't remember what this is doing exactly, but this might be just a JSON file that it makes, or it may actually be connected to the database, but I don't think it is. But the point is, is we'll get into the rear end stuff on the next video. Oh, by the way, before I go, this is kind of cool. I discovered this little site, where you can generate buttons, basically in CSS and so forth. So, you got, like these different button types, okay, that you can choose one, and, you can make it, change its size, and, font size, what its text is, and, its border style and all that. It's got a whole bunch of different basic styles there that you can choose from, and then you can get the code from it, and it's basically just a style sheet. So you pop it in there, and it has a button code too with it. So shows you an example button or whatnot. So it's pretty cool. Just plop it in there, and I don't know if there are other designers out there like this for other elements like text boxes and stuff, but it stands to reason there might be. But I just discovered this one by accident. So anyway, it's kind of cool. So you can see what the website is, buttongenerator.com or whatever, or best CSS buttongenerator.com. But I'll bet you they got other things they do, but I don't know. I haven't really looked for anything else. So anyway.